بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Regarded of what is regarded, what is held in themselves, as in what's within their hearts, right? الكلام في القلب وجعل اللسان عليه دليلا, right? The speech is in the heart, and the tongue is its primal indication, as in the tongue indicates what harbors in the heart. You understand? So you can see that this is before Islam. Yes, there's a real consciousness of words and their effect. Now, this is why you're probably aware, what was a well-known feature of pre-Islam? What was a denoting aspect of pre-Islam when it came to language? Poetry, right? Now, you've got to understand that this is not a small thing. Okay? And what I mean not a small thing, a poet, in relation to the various Arab tribes and clans, would either raise them, or abase them. They could raise others and they could abase others. You understand? And they used to have a custom that once when it was identified amongst their clan that they had a poet that was of notoriety, of standing, of prowess, of strength, of eloquence, they used to inaugurate a ceremony similar to what you would do for a bride. And they would announce this to all of the respective tribes that this is our poet. And the poets were the foremost lines of defense. You understand? The foremost lines of defense, lyrical defense. You understand? And why do I start by talking about this? Because this is all about language here. What is this? An accusational statement said about Sayidtuna Aisha. You understand? But we first need to get conscious in regards to the whole setting of how language is understood amongst these Arabs. Yes? Why the Quran was then so profound in what it was against that, right? This didn't just disappear, this emphasis of poetry and language. It didn't just disappear once the Quran came. In fact, it stayed very much an emphasis into the 2nd century of Islam. I mean, you have I'll give you an example now, right? So you had the poet known as Farasdak. Farasdak is a poet that's post-Islam, right? In fact, he was a poet to the court of the Umayyad kingdom. The Banu Umayyah, the first dynasty of Islam. One of the main kings was Hisham, Ibn Abdul Malik. And he was one of his right-hand poets, Farasdak, right? And Farasdak got this idea. Now, he'd be used for many things. He'd be used for hijā. Hijā is what? Hijā is offensive poetry. When I mean offensive, I should just explain this. Offensive, not necessarily in the sense of rude, like profane words, swear words. Offensive in the sense of it would be attacking of another tribe or another people in a way that it would abase that tribe. That tribe couldn't lift its head up. Do you understand? This type of poetry is known as hijā. And it's a very important type of poetry. This is why the Prophet ﷺ, he would have poets that would defend him. Hassan ibn Thabit, and he's going to be very significant in this story of Ifq, right? Hassan ibn Thabit. You have Abdurrahman ibn Auf, yes? You have Ka'b bin Malik. These were Sahabi, and they were poets of the highest excellence, and they used to formidable. They were formidable. Why? Because they used to defend the Messenger of Allah from the poetical attacks from all tribes, not just from Quraysh. And this was a form of, if you were to put it in some contemporary notion, against the propaganda. You understand? This was, if you want to take it in some kind of context of today, how they would counterbalance, slanderous remarks saying about them, or comments that would be misconstruing or defaming or attacking them. This is how they would have this counter. So it wasn't that they were just ignoring them. So an example of this I spoke about was Farasdak. Now Farasdak, he got put up to, for certain motives, to attack a tribe known as Abdul Qais, right, with his lyrics. He needs to he's been told, put down the tribe of Abdul Qais. Because why? If you put them down, they don't then have the jur'ah. They say in Urdu, jurat. Jur'ah is the Arabic. Jur'ah means they don't have the gall to then come forward and even try and put a face to you, because you've disregarded any reputation of this. You understand? So before it gets to that point, he's been put up to put down the tribe of Abdul Qais. Now, Abdul Qais have Ziyad al-A'jam, who's their poet. You understand? He's their poet. Okay? They get news that Farazdaq's going to level a lyrical attack on them. Yeah? So what Ziyad says, he sends him a message. He gets a message to Farazdaq. He says, just calm down. I'm going to send you a present. He goes, just calm down. I'm going to send you a gift. Yeah? Just hold it. Before you say anything, let me first send you a gift. And he follows it with a gift. He follows it with 4 lines of poetry. Ziyad al-A'jam, he sends him 4 lines of poetry. And he starts by saying, مَا تَرَكَ الْهَاجُونَ لِي إِنْ هَجَوْتَهُ. You know what he's saying? You know, I said hija is the poetry of attacking, yeah? Hajun are those who attack. Yeah? So his opening line is that those who compose this attacking poetry, yeah, haven't left for me anything upon him to attack. What does he mean by upon him? He's talking about Farazdaq himself, you see. Haven't left anything upon him for me to attack. Masahan arahu fi adim al-Farazdaqi. He said he hasn't even left a space, like those poets in their attack of him. Do you understand? They haven't even left a space upon his skin for me to inflict a wound, because he's so inflicted in wounds by the lyrics. Do you get what he's trying to say? He said, I can't even now even inflict a wound because he's been so dissipated by others already. Yeah? And then he says, وَلَا تَرَكُوا عَزْمًا يُرَى تَحْتَ لَحْمِهِ, to the point of now that there's not even below it, yeah, below his skin, you can't even see his bones. Like there's just bone, there's no muscle, to the effect of how he's been decimated. Yeah, but there's just bone there. And then he goes, what do you say? لِكَاسْرِ أَبْقَوْهُ لِلْمُتَعَرِّقِ. He goes, really what's left now is just for the one of gnawing upon bone. You know what to gnaw is? You know what to gnaw is? You know when you got bone, yeah, and you have the little bits of a ligament and you know a little bit of meat that's left, and you just got that bit to gnaw on. That's called to gnaw on the bone, because that's all they left, man. That's all they left is now for me to just gnaw on his bone. Yeah? And then he says, سَأَقْصِرُهُ مَا أَبْقَوْهُ لِي فِي عَذَامِهِ. He goes, rather what I'll do to him, I'll smash the bones and what's left of him. Right? I'll smash the bones and what's left of him. Okay? وَأَنْكُتُ مُخُّ سَاقٍ مِنْهُ وَأَنْتَقِي. He said, and I will pluck out from his shins, scoop out from his shins, and basically carve out from inside of them. Right? He says, وَإِنَّمَا نُهْدِي لَنَا إِنْ هَجَوْتَنَا. He goes, for verily we, he's talking about, yeah, inna, وَمَا نُهْدِي لَنَا. And we and what you give to us as a way of gift in your attack to us. You know what you're saying to him? Now in your lyrical attack to us, you gift it to us as a gift. We take it as a gift. لَقَ الْبَحْرِ مَحْمَا يُقَلْ فِي الْبَحْرِ يَغْرَقِ. He goes, because we are like the ocean. He's talking about his tribe now, you understand? We're like the ocean. And any insult you send to us like the ocean, it only just gets drowned. Hey. So when Farazdaq got this, yeah, he read those lines. He just said, مَا لِي سَبِيلَ عَلَى هَذَا الْقَوْمِ مَا زَالْ هَذَا الْعَبْدِ. He said, I've got no way onto these people as long as they have that slave. You get the point? This is not a joke. You see how you're talking about warfare, you're talking about all gets dealt with, boom, with a lyrical destruction. You understand? This is lyrical, but this is a major part of, and this is post-Islam. Do you get what I'm saying? This is post-Islam. This is into 100 years into Islam, right? He dies in Basra in 114. But the point I'm trying to get us to first understand is that the Arabs knew the weight of words. You get this? They knew the weight of the tongue. This is why you take the rules of Islam, just many of the edits of Islam, how many of them revolve purely about an utterance. Take the Bab al-Talaq. Any of you study the basic laws around divorce, yeah? It is all pivotal upon the use of tongue. Yeah? Right? Likewise, you take some, and these are very significant. And we know about ghiba, backbiting as an action in itself is totally haram and unlawful, right? But you see how much of a weight Islam, even in its laws and its rights, places on the tongue. Like the freeing of a slave, as Sheikh Thaqib may have taught you guys, and you may have learned from somewhere as well, is that the tongue is the thing of that there's three, that thalathahun, the three, that their seriousness is seriousness and their mocking is serious. It's still serious. You can't say it in mock. One is the itq, freeing the slave. You can't do that. If you said, you can't joke about that. And the other is divorce. Right? You see? So the tongue is given an amazing weight. You following them? And this is why the culture didn't take it easy. That, you say something like a bohtan, kalimat al-bohtan, something of accusation. Okay, it's no joke. They understood this pre-Islamically. This is what I'm trying to get to you guys, right? Now in the adab of Islam, shay'un azim, it's very serious. Yeah. So we see this again. Like I'll give you another example because I want you guys to really see. I gave you an example that was after the demise of the Prophet ﷺ. Now here's another example. This happens later on in the Seerah, not in the 5th year. This happens around in the 9th year. Some put it as the 9th year. And this is Am al-Wufud. You know when you have the year of delegations, which inshallah that's going to be obviously in this series somewhere. And in this, what you get here is the tribe of the Banu Tamim. They come, they come to what? To take Islam. Now, what did I say about? I said every tribe significantly had a poet. Another person that a tribe would have equally, well, not just a poet, they would often also have their public speaker. Someone who could publicly address. Yeah. Now, what would sometimes happen is what? Is that you would bring the tribes, when they would come to take Islam, they would want to demonstrate the lyrical prowess, in front of the Muslims. And that means what way? It means throwing down the challenge. Even though they're coming there to look into Islam, you understand? They'll come because they want to come and make a point about themselves as well. And the Banu Tamim wanted to do this. They wanted to make a point about who they were, right? They're a northwesternly tribe of the Hijaz. They come out the Najd, right? And an interesting tribe they are, because the Prophet ﷺ, and if you want to know more about them, read the tafsir on Surah Hujurat. Surah Hujurat is about them, when it says, that they yunadunaka min wara'il hijab, min wara'il hujurat, when they call from you from behind the chambers. He's talking about them, these people. You understand? But the Prophet ﷺ, in that reference to that, you know what he said? He said that wallahi, he goes, if lawla, it starts with the lawla annahum ashaddu an-nasi qitalan 'ala ad-dajjal la da'ut an yahliq Allahu qawmahum. He said if they weren't the most sternest people who were going to fight against the Dajjal, I would have prayed that Allah would have ended them. Not because they done the yunaduna min wara'il hujurat. This is where not because they called from behind. Why did he say that? Because they had caused a lot of fitna for him. They had killed Sahaba. They had been very treacherous. And then they came at that time, and then they came at that time and they behaved in this kind of very abrasive way. You understand? So it wasn't because of them disturbing his qaylula that he said this. You understand? This is very important. This is why Seerah is so important, because Seerah gives a breadth of context. And that's why you have to understand that. So when the Prophet said that statement, he wasn't just saying it because of that occasion. There's a history there. There's a history of this qawm. So when they came, this Banu Tamim, when they came as a people, to accept Islam, they came with who? Their poet. Aqra' ibn Habis. He's their poet. So he stands up and he wants to give his 2 pence. So he stands up and he starts going, Ataynaka kayfa ma ya'rifu nasu fadlana. He said, we've come to you, but you know how it is. People know how virtuous we are. Talking about themselves. Right? إِذَا خَالَفُونَ عِنْدَ ذِكْرِ الْمَكَارِمِ. That there's no really differing about when nobility is to be mentioned. What does he mean there's no differing? It means there's no differing that we're the noble people. There's no differing. إِذَا خَالِفُونَ فِي ذِكْرِ الْمَكَارِمِ. And makarim is like nobility, noble qualities, right? وَإِنَّ رُؤُوسَ النَّاسِ مِنْ كُلِّ مَعْشَرٍ وَأَنْ لَيْسَ فِي أَرْضِ الْحَجَازِ كَالدَّارِ. He said that indeed all people's heads are bowed to us, yes, because there's no one in the land of the Hijaz, the whole of Hijaz, like the Darim. Darim is their tribe. That's another word for the Tamim. The Tamim are Darim. That's why he said, none like us. You know? He's saying this in front. He's saying, no one can't touch us. You know, this is who we are. And who's he saying it to? See, this tribal. You understand? This is what Prophet has to deal with. Isn't it? This is tribal. But what is he making the point? He's making the point to who? To the Prophet, Quraysh. He's making the point to who? A people now that you got Quraysh, Aus, Khazraj. You know, people of a milieu of Arabs. They're saying, understand, we're the Arabs. We are we're the people of Fakhr. And that's when the Prophet said to Hassan bin Thabit, he said to him, Qum ya Hassan, ajibhu. He'll get up and give him his answer. This is what goes on. That's why Hassan, when he got up, he goes, Bani darimi la tafkharu. Bani darimi la tafkharu inna fakhrakum. He said, Bani darimi, talking to them, don't come here bragging. Don't be bragging. يعود وبالا عند ذكر المكارم. He said it will only come back to you in disgrace when real nobility starts to be mentioned. You're going to get really disgraced. And what did he say? And he says to them, Habiltum alayna tafkharuna antum. You're lost. That you brag to us, right? You brag and try to boast over us, when in reality, what are you? Wa antum lana. You to us are nothing what? Khawalun bayna dhi'rin wa khadimi. He said, you to us are nothing but servants, either wet nurses or maids. Woo! Shut them up like that. See, this is what we're talking about, okay? It's very, very important. And this was very important. They accepted Islam afterwards, you understand? These were very significant exchanges, because this would actually set the tone of the work, you know. It'd be like, okay, yeah, you've done us, that's it, we respect that. Yeah? Because this is the thing. And when you don't understand this part of the Arab context and the Quranic revelation in the back of this, it can be very bad, you know, because you don't get the real feeling of what's going on. So bring us to what we want to talk about then. Because that was Hassan, right, which is the event of Sayidtuna Aisha radiallahu anha, and the whole event of the hadith. If, as we said, Banu Mustalq, this is the main thing, right? Now, the thing is, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would set out on nearly in all of his ghazw, when he'd leave Medina for a military expedition, he would have what were known as drawing lots. You know, he'd draw lots with his respected wives. That would then select whatever one, and then they would, you know, accompany him on the ghazwa, right? Just this thing is, the Mustalq was the reason why was the Prophet going to Bani Mustalq? Because they were supporting Quraysh at Uhud. There was some that they came to fight with Quraysh at Uhud. Do you understand? So this is another thing you must remember, is that in that world and at that time, if as a tribe, if I didn't have any form of contract with you, right, or acknowledgement of that with my clan member, there's some form of amnesty of agreement, yes, the default was conflict. You understand? That was what the default was, conflict. That you either have to say, right, you know, we're at good ends with each other on this or on this, that's it, then we can rub shoulders. Otherwise, no, we're going to have to deal with this, you know. This is their mentality. This is why many of them would go about, you know, they would have hilf with fulan, hilf with fulan, you know, hilf, pact with this tribe, pact with that tribe, yes? Okay? So, the Bani Mustalq is not just a case of now, oh, we just helped them, they needed some help. It was like, khalas, you've took your position, do you understand? And it's a very simple world as well, you understand? It wasn't a multicultural city with different ethnicities and backgrounds. They were just all Arabs, right? You get the point. So it was very clearly dichotomous, you know what I mean? It's very easy to say, this is this, you're and it was perfectly fair, because that's how they were. It was a traditional society. Yeah? And this is why the Prophet said, okay, they want to side with Quraysh, then we need to let them, they need to feel a repercussion for that. Because at the end of the day, this is about asserting your presence. You can't just lie there and just be turned over, you know. You don't have that understanding. This is why the Prophet marched to them with some 700 companions. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was given a flag. He was carrying, this is another thing you should note from the Seerah, that the Prophet's hikmah, and when he would take out expeditions, he would always acknowledge peoples for who they were as peoples and appoint them their own leaders. Very significant. Huh? Look, the Prophet's gone to Medina, Muhajirin, they're all there. You got Ansar, you got the Ansar and the Khazraj, they become the Aus and the Khazraj become the Ansar, right? But you look at the campaigns, every single campaign, he will always distinguish between them with flags. Even though they're now known as the Ansar, he would always accredit them in their space. That yes, this is the Aus, yes, like in this case, Sa'd bin Ubadah and Sa'd bin Mu'adh. Totally different. Sa'd bin Mu'adh is Aus, Sa'd bin Ubadah is Khazraj. But they're big chiefs of either side. They get the flags. Hikmah. It's not ego tripping. It's you treat people according to their worth. You get the point? That's how you create unity. Right? And it wasn't that there was necessary pure stuff for Allah. We wouldn't say about these noble companions. They had like a deep love of leadership. But it's about respecting that space. You get the point? Don't just imposing upon them. And Abu Bakr, he was given the flag of the Muhajirin. It's a very, you can look at, when you do Seerah, look at all that. You ever ask any people who come in now, do you say, who's carrying the flag? I guarantee you, always, the Prophet will make that thing. You have those different flags. Always. Yeah? Because he wants to make that thing of why? That they feel strong in themselves, because there is a truth with your own people. You can't take that away from anyone. Alright? Yes, when it translates into a type of fascism, nationalism, that's overt, and it means looking down on others in inferior ways, this is haram. But to be solid and to have a confidence in who you are, yeah, that's deen. And in your ethnicity of who you are, that is deen. That's not, it's where you don't let it come an interpretation of looking down on others by fact of it, yeah, or thinking yourself superior. That's haram. Okay? So this is why what we see at this thing is there were some 700 companions who went on this. Abu Dar was left in charge in Medina. Okay, he was made the Imam of Medina. That's another thing you should pay note to in Seerah. Look at all the different people the Prophet leaves as Imam every time he went on a ghazwa. Very interesting. Very interesting. The first time he does it, you should go and look it up now. You see, these are things you need to look up for yourselves and think, okay, ajib. Who did he leave first time? Second time? Third time? Huh? He goes from Aus, Khazraj, to disabled in charge. Blind man. What do you think of that? The blind man. Ajib. This is not a joke. Nowadays people go mad over leaders of positions of leadership, isn't it? So this is the thing. And Abu Dar is what? What tribe is he? He's Ghafari. Ghafari was a tribe known to be brigands. You know brigands? Brigands are those who used to basically rob the pathways. And his tribe was ruthless. His tribe, the Ghafari tribe, was known to be ruthless, in that they would not even observe the sacred months. Do you understand? You know the 4 Arbat Ashhur al-Huram, you know where it was understood everyone put down arms, no one, his tribe was known, they didn't do that. And that was one of the reasons he actually disassociated himself from his tribe, because he couldn't stand that fact that they did that. Yeah. So if you're talking about breaking a tribal perspective, let's get the Somali brother to lead the mosque in front of Gujaratis. Oi, yeah, heart attack. You haven't found that funny now, huh? There's heart attack. Oh, what's going on here? You see? And this is the thing. This is what I'm trying to say. And the Prophet did it with hikmah though. Because he didn't do him straight away, you see. When did he do it? He let the others take, the ones who expected it. Khalas. Meaning what? That don't let these things become a point of fighting. Yeah? They're significant, but don't fight about them. this is why it's an amazing. The Seerah is a narrative of life, and how to understand life, and how to understand insights of decisions. How to bring people together. And this is what makes the Prophet so remarkable. But anyway, I've got to fast forward. We're never going to do Hadith Ifq tonight. We end up talking about something totally different. But what I want is khalas. So this is why I talk about Bani Mustalq for this, because Sayidtuna Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she's the one who gets the lot, to go with the Prophet to Bani Mustalq. And the Bani Mustalq campaign was very much successful. They actually, they ended up having a conflict. One Muslim was killed by mistake, i.e. out of friendly fire. They use the term. Happens. Like Hudayfa's father, Hudayfa bin Yaman's father, that's who he was killed in Uhud by mistake. It happens, unfortunately, it's the case. But anyway, that was Hisham bin Sabah. And the spoils they got were many, and this is when the Prophet gets Juwayriyah from Mustalq, Juwayriyah, who later becomes his wife. And there's a whole story about this which is very important, but alas, we have to carry on, otherwise we get too much sidetracked. But why I talk about this Mustalq point first, why? Is because in this period of the Bani Mustalq battle finishing and returning back to Medina, right, there's a point here that Surah Munafiqeen is revealed. And this is very important. You understand? Surah Munafiqeen is revealed, and it's obviously about who? The Munafiqeen. And it was on the back of what Abdullah ibn Ubay did. Because what happened? Look, I'll give you a quick sort of. You had an altercation that happened at a drinking well on returning from Bani Mustalq, right? There was an altercation at a drinking well, and that altercation involved a Ghafari and a Juhayni. These are tribes, obviously, from the Ghafari and a Juhayni. The Ghafari, he was hired by Sayyidina Umar, and the Juhayni, from the Juhayni tribe, he was an ally of the Khazraj, i.e. Medina. You understand? These were the people that were taking their what? Their camels to drink, right? You understand? At the well first. Umar's employee said, we're first. Yeah? The Juhayni says, no, we're first. Right? And the Ghafari says, we are the Quraysh. Because you should understand, he's not really, but because he's employed by them, he's saying, we're the Quraysh. Juhayni says, what are you talking about? We're the Khazraj. Ooh. Pay attention. Yes? You understand? This is 5 years. You can't just expect this to disappear. It doesn't disappear. Yeah? It's mindset, man. It takes time. So these two guys start going at it, and naturally what happens, when others begin to hear that this is a fight of Quraysh and others, it turns tribal. The tribal instinct begins to override. Yeah? So it's about to get into like a full-on, they're going to have altercation, and it stopped. Yeah, it's like, what the heck are you doing? This is Jahiliyyah. And the Prophet said, he says, Utrukha, leave these kalimat al-Jahiliyyah. These are things of Jahiliyyah. Because they started swearing about taking oaths on their forefathers. My forefathers such, and this. And the Prophet said, this is pre-ignorance. Leave this. And then they calmed down. Now, why? Because Abdullah bin Ubay ibn Salul. You know who this is, yeah? Who's Abdullah bin Ubay? As-Salul. Who is he? The head of the Munafiqeen. He is the head of the Munafiqeen in Medina. He's there. When he sees this, you know what he says? He sits around a whole load of his Qodis, yeah? His yes men, other Munafiqeen. And he says, you know what's happening now? This is clearly turning into that situation. Fatten your dog, and then it turns around and it bites you. What is he trying to say? He's trying to say that we're Medina, we're Khazraj, we're the ones, because he's originally from Medina, Abdullah ibn Ubay, yeah? He's saying we're the one who took these people in, the Prophet, and we're the one who basically took, astaghfirullah, look at what he's saying, fatten the dog, yeah? And it will turn around and it will bite you. You understand what he's getting to now, right? One of the Sahaba was sitting there, it was Zayd, and he was like, what the heck? What's he saying? He went back to the Prophet ﷺ, and he said, what? Now you know what the irony is? Abdullah bin Ubay's son is Abdullah. You understand? So it's Abdullah ibn Ubay as-Salul, right? His son is a mu'min. His son is a mu'min. Full mu'min, you understand? When he heard that his father had said such, yeah, he came to the Prophet. You know, he said to the Prophet, he said, Ya Rasulullah, he said, if there's going to be an order given for my father to be killed, yeah, let me be the one to do it. Why did he say that? See, some people now, they say this stuff, yeah, and they make it out as if, oh, look at that, bruv. Islam, that's it. It's all about Allah, man. About Allah, you can kill anyone, brother. No family ties, you know what I mean? You twit. You know something? You're a twit. Because you've got to follow the whole of the story. Because what does Abdullah say? He says, Wallahi, nothing would hurt me more knowing that another man took my father's life. And I couldn't hold myself from then taking his. That's what he's saying. He said, so if it needs to be done, then let it be that I'm the one that does it. You understand? That's what he's trying to add. And that's when the Prophet ﷺ said to him, Bal, rather, you will treat him well. We do not kill anybody. You get this? Right? The same thing, I don't mean to be tangential, the same thing with the story of Sayyidina Nuh. You know Sayyidina Nuh? Yeah? And his son. Yeah, people know this, right? It gets cited. You know how it gets cited? As the ayah of the Quran says, Huwa laysa min ahlika. He's not from your family. Huh? Do people read the story, the ayahs before? What dua did he make? He said, oh Allah, save my family. What does Allah say? We will save your family. Do you understand? You're following this, yeah? And then when he's drowned, Musa alayhi salam's like, but I thought you said, you're going to save my family. Then he's told, he isn't from your family. Right? But in all of that discussion, you show me where Nuh alayhi salam said, sod it, kid, go to hell, mate. You're going to drown. I don't care. Show me that. But you know how it gets said? Now you get the people who will say, well, if my son goes another direction, I don't care, I disavow him. You following me? That's not what Nuh alayhi salam done. So we look at, don't tell me what Allah says, because that's Allah. Allah's got a right to say that. We got to look at it from a point of the Prophet. What did the Prophet do? The Prophet was constantly looking at a way of reprieving his son. You understand? He didn't turn his back and say, khalas. He had to be told by Allah at the end of the day, he wasn't from your family. When he was dead. Do you understand? But at no point did he give up on him. You get Maulanas now coming out with, that means this is why if your son goes, that's it, disown your son. What the heck? Where's that? That's not in the Quran. That's not the narrative. That's not how it's said. But this is what they call Ajib. These are very important things, right? So now we come to this point of coming back from Mustalq. And this is where the thing happens. So the Prophet ﷺ, he's coming. And why do I say emphasize this bit of munafiqeen? Because the eyes of the munafiqeen come, the first 5 eyes of munafiqeen, talking about who the munafiqeen are in description. It's very significant, right? Because Allah talks about, indeed they are inna munafiqeen, indeed the hypocrites are those who are the liars, and the eyes go on to speak about their pretense, the way they pretend to be believers, right? And one of them is what? Their tongues, right? Because what the situation is that when they come back into the actual whole Hadithat al-Ifq, which I'll just, because the best place to read this, there's many places, the best place to read it is actually in Sahih Bukhari, and it's from the statement of Aisha herself. Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she narrates the whole incident herself. And it's one of the lengthiest hadiths in Bukhari, right? In Sahih Bukhari. And she's basically, she tells the whole narrative. Radiallahu ta'ala anha. And she starts by talking about the whole thing of how she was selected by the Prophet ﷺ, her lot was drawn, and she says about how she was on her hodaj. The hodaj, who knows what hodaj is? What's hodaj? Hodaj, for women, they would erect like a tent, like a little structure on the camel. Yeah? You understand? That would go on the back of the camel. And the woman would sit in this chamber. First it would protect her from the sun, it would be nice, it just basically kept her more protected from the elements and even potentially from attacks. And so this was her hodaj, right? And she makes the point of saying that the Muslim women were very petite, yani light. Yani, why did she say this? What's the point? She's not trying to say, oh yeah, we were just dieting really well. Huh? She's saying why? She's saying it from a point of because their food was very simple, right? And they weren't due to the trial that they'd gone through. You know, like in Mecca, and that they weren't like the expectations of Qurayshi women. Qurayshi women were designed to be plump, you know, to have a bit more meat on them. You understand? They desired women in that sort of physicality to be a bit more heavier set, right? Yeah. So when she's saying this, she's first saying about, and also she's very young, but she's also saying how that we were very light, huh? She was very light. In fact, I should say on the returning of Bani Mustalq, this is when the Prophet races her the second time, yeah, and this time he beats her. Oh no, the first time he lost. Yeah, this time he beats her. This time he beats her. The first time he raced her before. The second time he raced her. This time he beats her. But anyway, they stop for a break as they're coming back from Bani Mustalq, and now the Hodaj, you know this Hodaj, they lift it up off the camel and they put it. The men, obviously, they lift it up. They put it on the floor, right? She then goes to what is known as Qada al-Haja, you know, to take her need, right? She goes to take her need, right? And as she goes away to take her need, what she realizes is that once she finished taking her need, she gets up, she goes back. She's dropped her necklace, which is Jaza' Zifar, which is basically a Yemeni necklace, right? It's onyx. Yeah, Jaza' is a particular name for Zifar, is a place of Yemen, and the stone. Jaza' is the stone, and it's like an onyx. And some would say that it has some white. The stone has like white lines in it. Yeah, white lines in it, similar to those of veins. This is how, you know, Arabic's very amazing. It's very specific, right? Just from this terming, yeah. And this was a necklace given to her by her mother, Rumman, when she married Sayyidina Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the latch on it had become loose, you understand? The latch was loose, yeah. And so she recognized that she dropped it when she was going to take her call to relieve herself, anha, and that when she was trying to go back then to the caravan, she recognized it had gone. She went back to see. In this time of doing this, the qawm, her people, they had picked the Hodaj up because she was so light. The men, they didn't discern that she wasn't in there. You understand? They thought, you get the point now, right? That's why they put it back on the camel. And then the camel sets off and the caravan sets off, right? But as the caravan sets off, you have the thing of where comes there, she realized they've now gone way ahead. She can't see them, right? Because she spent some time looking for her necklace. She did find it, by the way. That she goes, Khair. Sayidtuna Aisha goes, Tayyib. So what she does, she sits where she knows where the caravan was, where it should have been. And she goes, I'm going to sit here and wait now. Because obviously when they discover that I'm not there, they're going to come back to the last time where they were sure that they had seen me. And I'll be here, right? The ayahs of hijab had recently been revealed. The injunctions of hijab, as in the manner of women wearing hijab, had recently been revealed. Now note again, this is the 5th year of Hijrah. 5th year, okay? Then we have this injunction of hijab. Okay. Prior to that, women weren't. Even though women, let me just make something clear as well. The aristocracy of Arab women, you know, like the respected Arab women, would always cover their heads. Would always cover their heads. This was a noted fact about their, you know, the respectable women. This was something that was noted by them culturally, right? So the ayahs of hijab actually were to do with what? The further covering. It wasn't a matter of they were covering their heads. This is the point. It was to add to this, yes, with a way of covering the chest, right, and the body. Yeah. Okay. So what happens is she then takes her ibaya, you could say, her garment. She sits down, and as she's sitting there, she falls asleep. Yeah, she's waiting. She falls asleep. Now, it was a custom as well that when you'd set out in a caravan, you would either leave one or two riders to lag behind, for the very reason that if you had people who got lost or something or whatever, they would catch them or they would pick them up. This was another manner or mode that they would use when traveling the desert, right? In this case, the rider that was held back was Safwan ibn Mu'attal, or Mu'attal, afwan. Safwan ibn al-Mu'attal, he's from the Sulaim tribe. He's a Qurayshi. He knows Aisha from the young days because he knows her from Mecca. You understand? He knows her face. He knows that who she is, right? They were similar age. That's the other thing. He's about like 19, 20. So they're like, they were content, So as he's approaching, he sees this. He sees a body, a figure on the sand, and he can discern that it's obviously a person. Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she's resting, right? And when he sees her, he can't help but then exclaim. He says, "Ahla Rasulillah." Goes to the house of the messenger. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. He makes istirja. And he does it loud, And when he does this istirja, this wakes up Aisha. When Aisha hears him say, Inna lillahi inna ilayhi, she wakes up. That's when she wakes up, right? And she takes her abaya, because it was off her, right? She wraps herself up. And you know what she says? She goes, Wallahi, she goes, Ma sami'tu minhu la kalima illa had. She says, I never heard a word from him after this except that what I heard. You understand? What then follows? She says, the only thing I heard him say was that. After that, I never heard a word out of it. Not even a word. Yeah? And so when he says this, what does he do? He basically drops his camel. He drops the camel, right? He tells her, she gets onto the camel now. Ride the camel. And he now walks. Yeah? She's on the camel. He's walking in front. She says, did he even look back? Not a word, not even look back. Just walks. Yeah? Now, they eventually get to the caravan as the caravan, the main caravan, is entering Medina, and people are coming off their mounts. They're dismounting. That's when you can imagine. They've all entered and now they're coming from behind. Right? So, effectively, the whole of the people of Medina at that time can see that they're coming on their own. Do you understand? And it's at this point that Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she says, when describing that فَحَلَكَ مَنْ هَلَكَ. What does she mean? فَحَلَكَ مَنْ هَلَكَ. Meaning that those who saw that and their suspicious minds led to their destruction. فَحَلَكَ مَنْ هَلَكَ. You understand? Right? And then she says in the hadith in Bukhari, and the one who was the worst of them was who? Abdullah bin Ubay ibn Salul. He was the head of the hypocrites. We already mentioned him. Remember? You see why I spoke about that? Surah Munafiqeen has just been revealed, right? Not too long ago. And look what happened. He is one of the worst. He's like the real, let's say idram. He puts the real, stokes the embers, and goes around saying, "Oh, do you see this? Young man, with Aisha, what's that?" Basically saying, and even explicitly saying that they must have accusation, slander. This whole point now, from this point of this happening, as soon as what's interesting is she falls ill. Sayyidatuna Aisha happens to now fall ill, and she actually says in the hadith as well that it was when they returned to Medina, it was nahla dhahira, it was boiling, the heat. You understand? Which Allahu Alam indicates why she may have got ill. Do you understand? She's indicating the temperature at the time was absolutely boiling, you understand? Which indicates that she suffered from it. It caused her to suffer. So she's returned, she falls ill. Pretty much straight away. Straight away she falls ill. She's now at home, being unwell. And she's not really, she's like, okay, I'm trying to recover. But the one thing that really is beginning to make her think, hey, what's going on, is that the Prophet ﷺ, he wasn't the same with her. Like, he'd come in, and he would just say, Kayfa tikum. Now this is Ism al-Ishara, it's not the kum of address. Kayfa tikum is like saying, and how is she? Do you understand? Do you get the point? Not how are you? He was like, and how is she? Right? Like asking in third person. And Aisha was like, this is why, because like when she said, previously if I felt unwell, he would be so concerned, and he'd always be, okay, how you feeling, he'd ask a lot, like, there'd be a real lutf and attention, and she just like, she's strange, the Prophet was just saying, how is she? She's asking in this way, and this kind of made her think, okay, but it wasn't. Now you got to remember, like as you know, when you have gossip, spreads like wildfire, right? Like now, look at this. There's this stuff, social media and all this. Wallahi, you guys, I'm saying to myself, you need to be very careful with social media. Very careful, okay? And not just from a point of a man as Muslims, like we're talking about here, but the trickery of social media. They've got all these algorithms. You know what algorithms are? Algorithms are these patterns that they're able to read and mimic, right? They've got computers set up to churn out messages, right? They read your algorithms. Do you understand? So when you got Mojo1786 or whatever it is, writing, I think Muhammad was etc., etc., and there's you, losing your system, steam blowing out your ears on the other side of the screen, you twit. You're an utter idiot. That's not even a real thing. These are generated messages. Do you understand? This is to try and net in people. Then you get the ultra liberal comment. You understand? You guys have to wake up, man. It's a game. This is why you can't stay plugged to that stuff and think, it's not like that. It's very set up, very engineered. And there's people there having full out debates with God knows with an algorithm machine. He's just like plugging you off, and you guys are getting, I'll see you, come down, What? Kalam, you understand? That's why this age is unprecedented in that sense. The swiftness of how rubbish can spread. And the worst thing is, people making it. Now, you know what it is? The first who says it, that's it. There's no verification, there's no authenticity, there's no credibility. Just that the first who said it. And Muslims, in our way and methods, we should be a lot more cautious in taking traction to that. The world is always going to be the world, right? That's why surahs like this, incidents like this, they're all about teaching us measure. Before we give into something, or we don't give into something. Before we say, that's credible. I'll give you a classic example. Just the other day, Pakistan's defense minister, he decides to give a response to what he perceived to be Israeli defense minister's comment of, if need be, we would put a nuclear strike on Pakistan. And the Pakistani defense minister responded with, and Israel should be well aware that Pakistan itself is a nuclear power. Right? Later, the Israeli Defense Ministry sent a message back saying the source of what you relied upon is a total fabricated website. We hadn't made any comment of the sort. And they actually, we're not talking about like some kid in a computer shop. This is Pakistan's defense minister responding to fabricated news. I mean, you're just like, what the hell's going on? Do you see what I'm trying to say? You would think that there'd be a bit more checks and balances at a certain level, right? But this is the thing. Now presidents are tweeting. This is nuts, people. It's crazy. Presidents tweet, they tweet, everyone's tweeting. Netanyahu tweets, obviously Trump, and then they didn't say nothing about that. They all got to get on it, you see. Why? Why do they need to get on it? Because they know that if they don't tweet, they're going to be left behind. You know? They're not going to make the news. Right? This is the consciousness we need now in what we do, how we do, has to go right back to this type of lesson that's being extrapolated here in this whole thing of language and how people say things, and you got to be wary. Don't make opinions, because what happens? Good people get sucked in. That's what makes this incident amazing. Hassan bin Thabit, you know who he said? Spoke about him, yeah? He gets sucked into saying stuff. Humna bint Jahash, who's this? This is a sister of Zainab, the wife of the Prophet. Her sister from Bayt Jahash, she's one of those who ends up saying stuff. And then you have Mistah. And this is the point, because when Aisha, she's oblivious at this point. This goes on for 1 month. 1 month. Not like a couple of days, 1 month. She's been unwell for some time. She finds she gets some sort of relief. She steps out of her house, and she comes to. She wants to go and take the Qada al-Hajj again. You know, she's going to basically relieve herself. And in Medina, they used to go out. You know, they're not in their homes or anything like that. That was one of the first innovations, actually. That toilets were brought into the houses in Medina. This is like one of the first, some of the first. But they used to go to an area that was well known, where they would go and take their, they do the call of nature, Masania, and Masania. That's what it was known as. So she goes one night with her and Mistah, the mother of Mistah. On the way back, Mistah, she trips up on her thobe, on her garment. She trips, and as she trips, she says, Ta'isa Mistah. She says, Mistah is, Ta'isa means wretched. Wretched Mistah. Aisha is like, Bitsa ma kulti. It's a foul thing you said. Atusibina rajulan shahida badra. You're insulting a man who was a witness of Badr. He took part in Badr. Yeah? He was a fighter at Badr. You know what the Prophet said about Badr, don't you? People at Badr. You know the hadith? Who knows what hadith I'm talking about? What do you say about the companions of Badr? What am I referring to? You know when they sent the letter? Sahaba's name. Come to me in a second. When he sent the letter to warn the Quraysh, warn his family that the Prophet was coming to Mecca to conquest Mecca. The Sahabi Ibn Abi Balta. Ibn Abi Balta. That's it. Ibn Abi Balta. That he was. Sayyidina Umar found out. Longer story. Sayyidina Umar was like, Munafiq, cut his head off. Da'ni adribunuqa. It's classic. Let me go and cut his head. That's when the Prophet said to him, he said, Ya Umar, how did you not know that Allah looked at the people of Badr and said, you can now do what you want? It's in Bukhari. You understand? Because of that position, and at that time, for doing such a stance. Mistah, he's a Badri. He's one of Badr's men. This is why Aisha knows this. This is why Aisha said, what are you saying? It's his mum. What are you talking about? And she says, Hanta. Awalam tasma'i ma qal. Hanta is like, come on. You haven't heard what they said? And then she tells Aisha what's being said. And this just like, what the? This totally destroys her. In a sense of, she falls into more illness. Fazdidtu marada. She goes, I became even more sick. Right? And she goes, I didn't know what to do. She goes, I actually asked the Prophet ﷺ, because now she understood why the Prophet was just saying, how is she? Now she said, I actually asked him for leave to go and stay with my parents. I actually have permission, can I go and stay with my mum and dad? And he said, Tayyib, khair, you can go. So he gave her permission, she went to stay there. And now the Prophet ﷺ, he goes and speaks to Sayyidina Ali and Osama bin Zayd in reference to Aisha, because they both know her. They know her very well. You know, they're of a similar age. They, you know, they basically socialize together. You understand? You get the point? So he takes them in confidence and he wants their ishara of like, what do you think? And Sayyidina Osama, he basically says to the Prophet ﷺ, Wallahi, we just know that she's from a very pure family. Right? She's from a very pure family, and we know that that family has given nothing but love towards you. You understand? Then, the next thing that happens, he tends to Sayyidina Ali. Sayyidina Ali's answer is nothing to do with him being personally anything against Aisha. He's really just trying to answer it from being outside of like the situation. And he says this, Ya Rasulullah, lam yudayiq Allahu alayka. Allah hasn't made anything hard for you. وَالنِّسَاء سِوَاهَا كَثِيرٌ. And there's many women other than her. Yeah, he's just putting it as he's, you know, he's saying there's other women, you know, many women other than her. He said, but if you want to get an idea, then maybe it's good you speak to the woman that used to work in their house, yes, when they were younger, and her name's Barira, right? Like, because she saw her growing up. Like, he's trying to see, was this something I didn't pick up, or you know? So he goes and speaks to Barira, and Barira, he asks Barira, he says, you know, tell me, Barira, did you ever see anything that would make you doubt her, as in make you be, you know, question her character? Aisha radhiyallahu anha, that can make you doubt her, you know, think about it, maybe. And she says, Wallahi, nothing, by the one who sent you with the truth, nothing. And she goes, oh, okay, if I was to put it onto something, maybe was that I'd leave her with the dough, you know, after she kneaded the dough, yes, and I'd tell her to watch it, and she'd end up falling asleep, and then the goats would come and eat her. She goes, this is one thing that I didn't like, but I mean, yani, you know, of all the character things you could have said at that point, yani, that's what you're going to come out with. Yeah. So after the Prophet heard this, then he goes and gives a khutbah. He climbs the minbar and he calls upon the Ma'ashar al-Muslimin, and he actually says, "Man ya'zuruni min rajulin qad balaghani adahu fi ahli bayti." He said, who is going to relieve me from a man who has brought much harm into me and my family, right? And then he says, for wallahi ma'alimtu ala ahli illa khayra. He goes, I know nothing but good from my family, and I know nothing of that man. Who does he mean, that man? Safwan ibn al-Mu'tal. Yes, this is language. I know nothing of that man except khair, except good. You understand? And no one, ما كان يدخل على أهلي إلا معي. And these were people that never came on my family except I was there. You understand? This is, you know, the Prophet was basically saying to Yani, what's being said? I know these people. There's nothing. Sa'd bin Mu'adh gets up. This is what places this incident, you know, this incident of Ifq before Khandaq, because Sa'd bin Mu'adh is martyred at Khandaq. Sa'd bin Mu'adh, who's from the Aus, he gets up. He says, Ana a'ziruka minhu. He said, I'll take care of him for you, Ya Rasulullah, if he's someone that is from the Aus. If it's understood to be someone from the Aus, I will take care of him, meaning I'll deal with him. And he said, and if he's from our brothers from the Khazraj, and you command me, you command us, yeah, we'll see out your command. Do you understand what he just said there? What did he just do? He basically said, he's Aus, right? He spoke for his Aus, okay, good. But when he went and said, hey, and if he's from Khazraj as well, if you, saying the Prophet, you give us a command, we'll deal with him as well. This gets under Sa'd bin Ubadah. Sa'd bin Ubadah, one of the great Sahabi as well, but he's what? Essentially he's Khazraji. He takes that as a what? You don't think that we would police ourselves over this matter? Meaning, who are you to say that you're going to police us? Yeah, meaning that you have more of a sincerity towards a messenger of Allah and his affair than we do? Do you get the point? So that riled him up. He gets up and he says to him, he says, before anything, let's get something straight. No one's more covetous and straightening the affair than we are, right? And this then turns into what? Sa'ad then says to Sa'ad bin Mu'adh says to Sa'ad bin Mubarak, yeah, you're just blagging it, basically. You're blagging it. What? They're like, what? What do you mean? And then Usayd bin Hudayr, who's the nephew of Sa'ad bin Mu'adh, he's saying, yeah, we can have the straightener right now. Right? We can have the straightener right now, no problem. And they're gonna go at it full on. You understand? And the Prophet ﷺ stands on his mimbar. He stands up on the mimbar. You understand? And he's calming them down. He's saying, calm down, calm down, calm down. He goes, until hatta sakatu, until they all just shut up. They basically go, what? Then the problem. He goes down, walks off. It's amazing, like, reality. Do you understand what words can do, what fitna does? Do you understand the point? Huh? This is really important, and the Prophet has to handle that. Your life has to handle that. You see the point? And then what does he do? Then he goes to Aisha's house, radiyallahu ta'ala anha. And like I said, this is all happening over a month. You know. In this period, Aisha was saying about herself, she said, Wallahi, I spent one time, I cried an entire day and a following day, or following, a day, 3 days. She was to the point I couldn't cry anymore. That's how much it affected her. She literally could not cry anymore. Huh? And this is why when the Prophet ﷺ comes in to see her now, he says to her, Ya Aisha, فَإِنَّهُ قَدْ بَلَغَنِي عَنْكَ كَذَا. You know, Aisha, such and such has been said to me about yourself, right? And then he says something very significant here. She says, فَإِن كُنْتِ بَرِيئَةً يُبَرِّئُكِ اللَّهِ. She said, and this is a very significant point he says, and if you are innocent, Allah will pronounce your innocence. Listen to that, yeah? The Prophet said that to her. And he says, وَإِن كُنْتِ أَلْمَمْتِ بِذَنْبٍ. Very beautiful. Even the Prophet, even when he's being very subtle with her. But yeah, obviously Aisha's like, but I've done nothing, yeah? That even if you kind of leant towards a wrong, this is what al-mamt, lama means to lean towards it, you understand? It's not like, we got such poor selection of language. You know, like when we speak, we're just in your face. We've got no tact in our words because we don't have a sophistication of words. Huh? So you make the other person feel like they've got to automatically defend themselves in a way of like, get out of my face, what are you talking about? When all you're trying to do is what? You're trying to like probe, you know? That's why he said, if you kind of even lent that way of a wrong, فَاسْتَغْفِرِ اللَّهِ وَتُوبِ إِلَيْهِ. Seek Allah's forgiveness and make repentance to Him. And when she hears the Prophet ﷺ say this to her, and he goes on to say that there's nothing like a slave that one recognizes his wrong and turns to Allah, that Allah turns to his slave. She heard that, she wanted to cry, she goes, I couldn't cry. She had no tears left to cry. She goes, I had nothing else. When I heard him say that, she goes, then I turned to my father, Abu Bakr, standing there. And she said to Abu Bakr, Ajib Rasulullah fi maqal. Give him say something to him with what he just said to me. And Abu Bakr says, Wallahi ma'adri ma'akul li Rasulillah. He said, by God, I don't know what to say to the Messenger of Allah. That's her dad. Right? And then she turns to her mum, Man. She says, answer him. And she says exactly the same thing that Abu Bakr says. And you know what? Aisha radiallahu anha, she says that this is all the hadith in Bukhari. I'm giving you from her narrator. She says, I was young and the Quran wasn't that solid with me. Like I hadn't got it down. She goes, but I just turned from that situation and I went away knowing what? She goes, I went away knowing that what the Prophet said. What did he say to her? That if you're innocent, Allah will exonerate you. He said that to her. You remember? Huh? She said, when I knew he said that, she said, I then said to them, you know what? Wallahi laqad alimtu annakum sami'tu hadha al-hadith hatta istaqarra fi qulubikum. He said, these words that you have heard, they have now taken a place in your hearts. Look at the strength of this woman. It's bloody amazing. Look at her, man. She's a woman. She's saying they've taken a place in yourselves, yeah. وَصَدَقْتُمْ بِهِ, and you've given it some credence. You've given it credence, yeah. فَلَئِن قُلْتُ لَكُمْ إِنِّي بَرِيئًا. Now if I say I'm innocent, and Allah knows that I'm innocent, لَا تُصَدِّقُونَنِي بِذَلِكَ, you're not going to say that I'm being truthful in it, right? And then if I do confess to something that is a matter that you're saying or indicating, Allah knows that I'm innocent. Do you understand? Allah knows that I'm innocent. And then she turns away and she says, all I can remember is the ayah of, she's the Abu Yusuf, they say Yaqub, right? Of Yaqub alayhi salam, فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ, a beautiful patience, وَاللَّهُ الْمُسْتَعَانُ عَلَى مَا تَصِفُونَ, a beautiful patience, and Allah is greater, is far loftier than what they ascribe and what they describe. And then she said, I turned to my room, تَحَوَّلْتُ فَاتَّجَعْتُ. فَاتَّجَعْتُ is basically, I threw myself down on my bed. She says, while I was in this state, she said, I couldn't ever imagine that my innocence would be in the form of revelation that would be read till the day of judgment. She goes, I thought my innocence would for sure come by way of a dream, by way of ishara. You understand? To the Prophet ﷺ, she goes, but I never thought that it would be Kalam Allah. You understand? And those are the ayahs in Surah Maryam, which are, we go from 12 to 19. The ayahs in Surah Maryam, that speak about basically when this revelation comes down, exonerating her. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ جَاءُوا بِالْإِفْكِ عُصْبَةٌ مِّنكُمْ. Yes? That those who came, who brought this ifk, this slanderous comment, is a group from amongst you. Allah termed it as well. This is if. The Prophet ﷺ, she goes, she had put herself on her bed, and this is what was known, that when the Prophet would start receiving revelation in the most intense fashion, ينهدر منه مثل الجمعان من العرق, he would literally drip sweat, like pools, drops of sweat, because of the intensity of it. And then when he came out of the state of revelation, he said, Ya Aisha, Amma Allah Azza wa Jal faqad barra'aki. As he finished, he said, Oh Aisha, Allah has for sure revealed your innocence. Allah Akbar. Ajiba. And this is when her mother then says, get up and now thank the Prophet ﷺ. She says, La, no way. Ahmadillah. She goes, I praise Allah. And when she turned and she went to praise of Allah. This is because she was like, Allah just, pulled me from this. And when this ayahs came down, this is where other things get entailed, right? Which is the whole aspect of what? Abu Bakr, because they were cousins, Mistah, the family. And then family. Abu Bakr used to support the family, used to give nafaqah. Right? You understand? He used to give financial support to Mistah and the mum. And when this came down, Mistah ibn Uthatha, he said, Wallahi, I'm never going to give nothing to them. Because he was like, what? Because he knew that he was one of the main guys that was making these comments, He said, I ain't going to give nothing again. They can forget it. No more financial support to that family for that. What they done, to me, and that's why in Surah Nur as well, verse 22, وَلَا يَأْتِ لِأُولِي الْفَضْلِ مِنْكُمْ وَسَعَةِ أَنْ يُؤْتُوا أُولِي الْقُرْبَى وَالْمَسَاكِينَ وَالْمُهَاجِرِينَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَلْيَعْفُوا وَلْيَصْفَحُوا أَلَا تُحِبُّونَ أَنْ يَغْفِرَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ وَاللَّهُ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. Amazing ayah. Because the ayah basically says, and do not make such oaths, basically, those of you who are of ulil fadl, of no real true virtue, people of true virtue, don't make such oaths, who have been given a vaster provision, and with that you give to your close relatives, to the poor, to the immigrants, for the sake of Allah. وَلْيَعْفُوا وَلْيَصْفَحُوا, pardon, وَلْيَصْفَحُوا, and be excusing. أَلَا تُحِبُّونَ أَن يَغْفَرَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ. isn't it that you love that Allah will forgive you? Wallahu ghafur rahim. And Allah is the most forgiving, the most merciful. Abu Bakr says, Bal wallahi inni uhibbu an yaghfir Allah li. He said, rather I love that Allah will forgive me. And he said, then he went back to giving to Mistah. He went back to giving to Mistah in such a way that he made the oath, Wallahi la anza'uha minhu abada, that I will never stop giving to that family now. The very same person. Do you see, this is karam. You understand? That's nobility. Hurt you in such a place. But then when Allah's saying, وَلْيَعْفُوا وَلْيَصْفَحُوا أَلَا تُحِبُّونَ, don't you love and يَغْفِرَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ, that Allah then forgives you? Abu Bakr's qif, khalas. That's what I want in my life. You understand? That's what I want. I want maghfirah. So he's ready to put that all aside. You see, his nafsani, his ego. He recognized now that's ego. You see? His ana. No. This is why he's saying Abu Bakr. You understand? Not just like this romantic idea or you've got to think about what's just happened here. And look at his transaction. Look at the lofty virtue and behavior that he still holds to and in standing. This is what makes him such an amazing man. Right? And so in any case, like I said, we've spoken about a few things, but this is the culmination of there's a lot of things in this narrative that are very poignant to our age, very poignant about, see, this is why gossip, look at these stupid things, man. You get all these feeds on your phones. I mean, I don't know if I can turn my one off. You get these stupid feeds on the phone, always just stuff on the phone, you know what I mean? You don't even want nothing to do with it. It's coming through your phone. And you got, they want to take you this, take you that. We have to be very purposeful with our time. And one thing we have to be very purposeful with our tongues. Yes? Don't run away with things, and don't let things make you run away. And what I mean by that, don't let things you see and this and that become your, people send you, I get them, some people send me the most stupidest things, yeah? I'll give you an example. Someone sent me this thing, some pictures of some doorstep with Quran CDs, got poison on it, bruv. You've got someone's posting poison Quran CDs or something, yeah? I tell you, I texted brother, I said, one second. I said, where the hell's that picture from? I said, who sent you it? I said, seriously, what is this about? Oh, I don't know, someone just sent me it. I was like, someone just sent you it? They could have been in Australia, or even what you're bringing home, you understand? You're creating certain things, and people will spend then hours talking about stuff like this. Oh, did you see that? They're sending these Quran CDs that go put. What do you mean Quran? You got to watch out, bruv. Watch out for what? Where was that? Who said that? How? I don't know, man. Just saw it, innit? It was on Facebook. Or someone tweeted it. No. We don't know the facts. So shut up. Don't say nothing. Don't comment. And don't think you need to comment. Everyone thinks they've got to give a comment. About what? Don't even know nothing. I'll be honest with you, bro. I don't know nothing. I'm seriously, I don't know nothing when it comes to what's going on in Syria. Or I don't know about you. I don't know nothing. I don't mean to say. You can't, what? You got this. It's just nuts. I know that it's obviously massively painful, and there's clearly a lot of pain, a lot of hurt. But who and what? You know what I mean? It's like, Who? Everyone's got an angle. Do you understand? Everyone's got their own interest in what they're trying to say and why they're saying it. That's not to take away from real stories and I'm not. Don't misunderstand me. But it's just like it's an age of hayra. Hayra is confusion. Because you need veracity and you need credibility before you believe in something. I say, yeah, right, that's authentic. I can, you know what I mean? So this brings us to our point, is that we need to be mindful in what we indulge ourselves to, mindful in what we circulate or choose not to circulate. And I think one of the best hadith to hold to ourselves is what the Prophet ﷺ says: "Man kana yu'minu billahi wa yawmil akhir, whoever believes in Allah on the last day, فَلْيَقُلْ خَيْرًا أَوْ لَا يَصْمُتْ. Whoever believes in Allah on the last day, let it be that he only speaks good, otherwise keep it quiet. Don't bother. Be people who speak good. Don't just be a vacuum, like just like to pass bad news on. Oh, I've got to tweet that. I've got this group. Let me send it out on that group. Let me send it this group. Yeah. Depressing news. Let's send that out. Send that out. Keep sending. Yeah, you're the circle of depression, man. You're getting depressed. You make other people's depressed. You don't like reading it, so why are you sending it to other people to read? You don't want to see it, so why are you sending other people to see it? It diametrically opposes everything that you're meant to be. I'm not saying you know what? I'm not saying you ignore things. Don't get me wrong, but too much attention is given to stuff that isn't worth giving attention to. We've got a lot more important things to get on with. Us, firstly, ourselves, our relationship with Allah and His Messenger, understanding that better. Alhamdulillah, through some classes like this, some programs, these aid towards doing that. These aren't the answers. These aren't the answers. These are things that we need to give us the conceptual understanding of then how to become closer to those realities. You understand? You get what I mean? This is why you have to learn. Knowledge is key. It's key. There's no doubt. But that's not the be and end all. Because knowledge which isn't operationalized or isn't actionable, that's not knowledge. For us, you know what knowledge is? What's knowledge for us? The main thing about knowledge is that purposeful knowledge is salvific. You know what salvific means? It means it's knowledge that saves you on the day of judgment. That's knowledge. That for us is knowledge. Ultimately, that's what knowledge is.
Sheikh Thaqib Mahmood, mashallah, taking us through the details of the Hadatah Ifq, the incident of this tremendous slander upon our mother Aisha radhiyallahu anha. And for us, it's a message that can be taken away and applied into all of our parts of our life, in which we hear news, sometimes we hear incidents, we hear reports about others, and the way of the believer, as you know, is to verify, and that's in the circumstance in the first place, that it's actually it's our business. And it's mentioned from some of the scholars, they mentioned that take the same precaution you would do in transporting that news about somebody or some person or some incident, as if the person you are talking about would be your own father. And the amount of veracity and the detail, and also the importance you would give to it, to be what it would be in circumstance if that incident was related to somebody who would be your own father. So we thank Sheikh Thaqib, inshallah, and we ask, as he mentioned, if there's any questions that people have, then raise their hands, inshallah, and ask the question. Bismillah. If the sisters are present, they can ask their questions by sending it's written on a piece of paper to the bottom of the stairs, and inshallah see Wazir shall go and get those questions from the bottom of the stairs, inshallah. So any questions, brothers or sisters? MashaAllah. زيادة.
Yeah, تفضل.
Just before you was mentioning that in Facebook and YouTube, so many messages we are getting, and we shouldn't respond. But what about non-Muslims? Sometimes they're getting messages, and non-believers they are showing to Muslims like us.
What kind of messages are you referring to?
This is about this Syria, whatever happening, ISS and this all.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, right, these things aren't ignoring. We can't ignore them.
Yeah.
I'm not saying ignore them. The reality is that we do have some very disturbing elements. But to be honest, I mean, what I'm trying to say is like, I need to focus on what is for my benefit. You understand?
Yeah.
That is what I need to focus on.
Yeah.
That's not to ignore the fact that obviously they're lunatics. There's nothing else to be said. They're absolute madmen. What else can you say? End of. Yani, there's no like subnote to that. They're mad. They're absolutely like sociopathic, crazed loonies, right? Now what? What do you want me to do? I can't do anything about that. Obviously I condemn them outright, but I need to get on with my life. And this is another thing that I think we need to really understand, and that's what is that as Muslims, we've played into something really, really stupid. And you know what that is? Our self-perspective. You know what I mean by self-perspective? See, the kuffar, and I say that not in like a dismissive sense, I say that in a sense of there clearly is the notion of there being a collective idea of what disbelief is, right? They know full well, and those who are sinister amongst them, that's not all of them, the sinister batch amongst them, know full well that Muslims see themselves as this homogeneous body. Do you understand? Muslim one. You understand what I'm trying to say, right? Now, there's nothing wrong in that, but there is something wrong in it when you can be played off it. And what I mean by being played off it? Because then, when they basically highlight the fact of, where here's Imran, and Imran, he's ripping off old grannies, and he's a Muslim, right? Suddenly, you bring up Imran being Muslim. You understand what I mean? All the Muslim community are now, oh, look at him as a Muslim. Imran's a Muslim name, yeah. How much of a Muslim is he though? He's a product of this society. Just like Gary is, just like John is, just like Kerry. They're products of this society. He grew up here. You understand what I mean? And just like John, Terry and Fulan, whoever he is, equally can do things like this. You get the point? It's not a question of religion. Do you get what I'm trying to say? And this is a grave mistake we end up falling into. We end up perpetuating that self-perspective of we are one body. Yeah, we are one body in essence. We want to be united. But the reality is we ain't. And the reality is that there's a hell of a lot of problems. Do you get what I mean? So, you know, we've let the language divide us in a way where we perpetuate that by trying to show a front of Muslims are one. We ain't one. Wake up and smell the damn coffee. We ain't one. Right? We want to be one, and we need to learn to get on as but we ain't. And we've got to learn to say that. We're not one body, you know what I mean? It's a nightmare out here. Muslims are at each other's necks, yeah? One group can't stand another group, and we need to just be honest about this. Because what we're doing, we're shafting ourselves. Do you get what I'm trying to say to you? Because we're trying to project ourselves as, oh, no, we really love each other. Not really, I want to kill the guy next to me because he put his feet next to me too tight or whatever it was. Did you understand? We've got to learn to be just like, we self-perpetuate certain things as well. And I'll tell you something really interesting. And this is just to counter what I'm trying to say from a point of, from those who will say probably, yeah, but you say that, but we know there's a lot of vilification of Muslims. And there is. I'll tell you what, you guys should look up a guy called Professor Tony McHenry. Right? This guy, he's done one of the longest studies on the portrayal of British Muslims in the media. Since he's done over a 10-year study of how the British media has portrayed Muslims in written articles, in written newspapers. You understand? Analyzing every single article published referencing Muslims. That's like over 250 million words. You following this, yeah? And he's analysed it with a team of guys in Sheffield. Okay? You're following, yeah? And he's done it through what's in linguistics known as corpus linguistics, which is not a Google search. Don't think you can go on Google and do what he did. You can't, right? It's a lot more sophisticated than that. It's basically taking the context of how Muslims are being referred to, yes, through a spectrum of articles, right? And he goes, our priority was not to have any bias. We weren't trying to have any, we just wanted to see how it was being done. He said, okay, an overwhelming amount of what's reported about Muslims, yeah, is conflict, right? You're probably thinking, yeah, well, that's not surprising, is it? Well, actually, what his point was then, equally, if you're gonna narrate all the stuff to do with them about conflict, why aren't you talking about all the stuff they do that is good as well? Do you get the point? You understand? I said, fair enough, isn't it? So he uses Mo Farah. Now, whether you agree with him or not, I'm not here to discuss that, right? Whether you should do corn adverts or whatever, that's not my to flying. The point is, he gives the example of in one article or in one interview, he clearly makes the point of being Muslim, and he identifies very strongly with his faith. Mo Farah, right? Or Muhammad Farah. Let's call him by his proper name. Even though he wants to be called Mo, it's alright. The point is what? He said, but there's no mention in news articles about that. They won't mention that he's a very strong Muslim, or he identifies himself as being a very strong Muslim. Yeah? Don't even go there. I know some brothers like, yeah, but bro, man, you seen the sign of his beard, bruv. Like, listen, mate. Do you understand what I mean? This is what we're about. This is where we are. We're not talking about your assessment of his Islam. Knock, knock. Anyone told you you're not God? I think we need to have that check there. Yeah? The point is, Mo Farah himself, that's how he explains. But this is the point, and he goes on to say some things that are very interesting. Because what he basically says is that there is an overwhelming, this is his professors and studies, an overwhelming bias in portraying Muslims as others and bad. He goes, it's overwhelming. He goes, it's clear. Do you understand? So I'm not trying to ignore this, brother. You know, like you're trying. I'm not saying, yeah. Do you understand?
I want to find out how to answer this.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I'd say, the best thing is first just trying to be someone who's adapting the modes and conducts of Islam, and trying to do that in the most upright way. That's the most important thing. And that's that. Your actions are always going to speak louder than whatever words you want to give or any expression you want to give. How you behave with people is always going to be a greater statement. That's always going to be a greater statement. And that's where I think we should realize that. And if we do that with the motivation and intention to do it to only please Allah, yes, it will have an effect. It will have an effect. I honestly believe that, because that's the sunnah of Allah. That's the sunnah of Allah. That's what Allah's Prophet ﷺ told us. That when you have that attitude and that type of mindset in the reasons of why you do things, you do the good that you do, it has an effect. Right? And that's what we believe in. That's our confidence is in that. Yeah.
I've got a question in relation to the talk that you've given. I've got many questions, but I'm going to pick one of many questions. The part about hijab you described, obviously the Arabs, as you said, already had that notion. The women of the Arab tribe had the notion of how to cover it, etc. And then when Allah revealed further how to dress, they implemented it, those of faith. So there's culture and there's religion here. So how do you translate it into our community living in England? In the sense of when the Sahaba who picked up Aisha and all he said is Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un, he didn't speak again. When we live in a community with this lot of premixing, and I for one who I live in a family where my family from my own side is Muslim and from my wife's side is non-Muslim. We have a lot of intermingling, and often I find myself I have to just communicate to Allah and say, Ya Allah, just guide my way. I do not know how to behave, or there's no exact.
You're very lucky, mashallah.
Alhamdulillah. But what I want to know is, in the community, we are ethnic minority here, and often we close ourselves in. We don't allow ourselves to actually. I want to use the word take liberties. It's not right. It's actually know how to modulate ourselves to understand our own behavior, or how to behave with the opposite sex, etc. And we just cocoon ourselves in our community.
All right, let me just
say if you have a Somali brother leave the Salah language, that's very difficult. Then if we can't sort this out, how are we going to go and approach?
Well, these are issues. This is right. Okay, these are issues. Now, the whole thing of what you just put about gender interaction and stuff, I realise I'm sitting in Leicester. Yeah, I'm from London. I live in Oxford, right? And it's totally different. Cosmopolitan, right? I do classes in London. Yeah, we have men and women sitting next to each other. I have women in my class who ain't got hijab on. Okay, They don't wear hijab. Yeah, and so what? They're Muslims and they're trying to find their religion. So what? Right? And I say so what? That's not to say they don't know, in the class they don't know the emphasis of what hijab is. They get that. But people are at different stages. Yeah? And that's the first thing we need to just recognize. Give people space. Don't put it any, this is what, fascinates me. People talk about hijab and all this stuff, right? This is what I'm trying to say. Do you know the contrasting sociological difference between Medinan women and Meccan women? Medinan women were side by side with the men in Medina, in the fields, working. It was an agrarian culture, as in an agricultural culture, not like Makkah. It was much more intermingling between men and women. Let me ask you this. Where did the women stand in the Prophet's mosque? Where did they stand? Right behind the men. They could see the men. Right? Oh, should we say something else now? What about Amr ibn Salama? Read about Amr. Who's he? Who's that man? You want to read it? What happened with him? When he came at the Fatih Makkah, right? He accepted Islam. This is in Bukhari. The Prophet sent him back to be the Imam of his people. Yeah? First, this hadith shows you, what does it show you? It shows you the minimalistic lifestyles of the companions. And it shows you as well how they would handle such an issue. He was Imam, right? The women were standing behind. And after the prayer, you know what they said? They said, listen guys, you need to sort this out. Because we can see your posteriors when you're prostrating. Do you understand that? They were outright naked. Right? So what do you think they did? You know what they did? They didn't build a 6-foot wall between them and the women. No. You know what they did? They got a jubbah sewn for Amr ibn Salama. And then the women were told, don't lift your heads, until you know that the men have clearly stood up. I'm not making that up. That's Bukhari. That is what's going on in the time of the Messenger of Allah. Right? Now I know I'm in Leicester, and there's some hardcore stuff, which is good. It's got its place. But what I'm trying to say is we need to have a reality check. We need a reality check. Okay? So don't you dare, with much respect to you, brother, use the manner of Safwan ibn al-Mu'tal as that was their idea of parda. Never talk to a woman. No, he's observing context there. You understand? The context is just him and her. That doesn't translate into when they walk in the street, can't talk to you. Don't know if you're my mother, my sister, my aunt, because you're covered from head to toe. ID, fingerprint, please. This is mad, brother. Yeah, it's nuts. It's not human. The Prophet was natural, and his society was natural. You understand? And it was with manners. That's the point. People understood how to interact, right? They had an adab about how they interact. Not this idea of can't talk to you because you've got this is. And you need to read more about Barda and the whole thing of Barda. Barda predates Islam. It's a strong Persian influence into Islam. You understand? That type of strong Barda idea is a Persian influence of women being that, removed. And when it was at a time where cultures were simpler, it was fantastic. It worked. It was great. We're not criticizing that. You understand what I mean? But clearly things have changed. Right? And things are going to change even more. That's not to say you change with it. And you see what I mean? We need to realize, that there's a balance. Okay? There's a balance. Interaction should be purposeful, should have a meaning. I'm talking about between genders. Discussion should be purposeful. And that's it. It's about having self-control and self-modulating. But the idea that you want to orchestrate, like an artificial way of interaction, it's not real. And it's not real to your kids, it's not real to they come into don't get me wrong, it's khair, alhamdulillah, we're always going to have segregated places for men and women to pray. Oh, let's say that again. I know I'm in Leicester now. Hopefully we have segregated places for women and men to pray. Yeah. Fair enough. Hopefully. That's why I said I'm from London. That's different. Those kind of things are, I would say, obsolete. I can't say absolute because I don't know every single thing, but very much obsolete. But I know that up here it gets a bit more like, oh no, this is, come on, please. We haven't got time, people. We haven't. We ain't got much time. And I don't mean that just from a point of, we know our lives are short and etc. The things that are going on now are just on a different level. And we just need to get with it. We just need to grow up with basic manners. I just gave you an example that was straight from the prophetic era. Where people were praying, men were praying, and their nakedness was being exposed. We're not talking about walking through the same door in a mosque. That's why women can't come in. You know what I always ask? What do mosques do about guide dogs? You guys go get, you have to get ready with stuff like that. Do you know there's certain dogs that cannot leave the side of their owners? I know that. I've got Muslim friends, whose wife has epilepsy, right? She's now in the process of getting a dog that will prompt her when she's about to have a seizure, right? That rule of that dog is that dog cannot even go to sleep unless she says to it, it's time to go to sleep. That dog has to be beside her 24/7. So what, she can't come in the mosque now? Suddenly Maliki school, oh my God, what's that school? Oh, that was a school, wasn't it? We can't have that going on. Do you see what I mean? Because when you look at it in the legal parameters of Islam, subhanallah, the breadth is there. Do you see what I mean? Within the breadth is there. But what are we? We're like, oh my God, man. Let's not hope the next, dispatch interview is going to be, they don't even let guide dogs in the mosque, man. Let alone women. We set ourselves up because we don't open ourselves to what the tradition is and the breadth of it, you see? And that's the danger. That's the danger. Let me make myself very clear, This isn't freestyle, alright? Women can never be imams. I'll say that blatantly. And any woman who understands the role of it will never want to be imam. That's the other madness of it, right? When you understand it in context of what it means to be, they'll be like, oh, thank God Allah didn't make us want to be imams. Do you understand what I mean? Hijab is fard. End of. But people have to come to that. You see what I mean? Praying 5 times is fard. Yeah? These are obligations. Zakat, we know that. But we've got to reckon, we're at a stage where people have to find this now. And they need to find it with a level of reasoning and conviction. It's not as simple as, khalas. But that's what the deen, ain't going to happen. You can't just say, the deen. What deen? What are you talking about, deen? When people use that line. So these are those sort of things. I wouldn't have. It's a related question because obviously this is kind of ties to the whole thing of how men and women should be, mahram. It's purposeful interaction,
Alhamdulillah, you mentioned so many points. You mentioned, alhamdulillah,